You think if you try hard enough, you can stop bad things from happening. But you can't. No one can. Dun, dun, dun. The Hand That Rocks the Cradle is a Hulu original from director Michelle Garza Cabrera, who did Husura the Bone Woman. I'm pretty certain I probably butchered that title and likely butchered a bit of the pronunciation of her name, but Husura the Bone Woman was really goddamn good. Atmospheric, with a terrific lead, and a movie that was bleak, depressing, but really cheered me the fuck up. Depressing horror always cheers me the fuck up because I'm just a weird individual. This was written by Micah Bloomberg, who did Sanctuary! That was a terrific film. My God, it was a terrific film. If you're into that sort of thing, good for you, but man, that was a weird kink. That being said, Sanctuary was a lot of fun. The Hand That Rocks the Cradle came out in 1992, by the way, and Rebecca De Mornay had a terrific, just scene-devouring performance. I mean, she was just heaping just all kinds of condiments. You practice safe eating, you always use a condiment. She was devouring, ingesting, just doing everything, that goddamn scenery. It was great. The movie itself is pure early 90s cheese, and sure, you could argue that the characters are monumentally stupid, but the movie sets its tone right, and then just puts a nice little Easter egg, then little bits, and builds a story well. And sure, the conclusion is silly, but it's fun. It's a fun early 90s thriller. So what they do for this one? Well, they decided to put a bit of a different spin on the story, and they got Mary Elizabeth Winstead as Caitlin, who is married to Miguel, played by Raul Castillo. Boy, they just Karen'd the fuck out of Mary Elizabeth Winstead, didn't they? Or Winstead, however you say it. She is 41 years old. I did not realize she was that close to my age, but they are a couple. They have a daughter, Emma. They have another young kid, Josie. And not of Josie and the Pussycats fame. No, Josie and the Pussycats, no 6 whole hours or 5 long days. None of that stuff. And they're just a happy family. And then enter Polly, played by Micah Monroe. Well, at least the movie had potential before that. Look, I'm not mixing words. I do not get the appeal of Miss Monroe. I just fucking don't. I do not understand. Long legs, I get why she was trying to play that kind of role. It follows. Sure, I didn't expect her to be like a beacon of pure energy, but every role I have seen her in, she just literally seems like she's sleepwalking. Is that just how she is? Was she born, in a disinterested family tree? Was she born as part of a tree? Was she an actual tree that just turned into a human, but never figured out how to actually act like human? She's not as bad as Dakota Johnson, because at least Monroe tries to act like, she is in the movies she's in. She just doesn't really know how to, fully integrate herself to make those roles interesting. Yeah, I just do not get the appeal of Miss Monroe. But that being said, she plays Polly. Not Polly purebred. We're not going with that. There's no need to fear underdog. Oh, no, he has a terrible pain because he had a sword in his back. Who remembers that underdog cartoon? That's a lot more interesting than anything you'll find in this remake of The Hand That Rocks the Cradle. And yeah, I'm kind of just tipping my hand early. I thought this movie was dumb as hell. And not even dumb as hell like the 1992 version, which admittedly, if you stripped anything away from that, and there wasn't much to strip, except Rebecca De Mornay. But moving on from that, we get a lot of gaslighting in this, which might actually, make the movie a little bit tense. But unfortunately, the dialogue in this is not all that great, despite the fact that Mr. Bloomberg did do Sanctuary, that realistically, it was more just about those two performances that really carried that film, with some decent dialogue. And again, the director of Husura the Bone Woman, that was atmospheric and everything, but this was just bad. Really, really fucking bad. We do get a little bit set up with Caitlin doing her work, Polly showing up, and then Polly integrates herself to being the nanny. And if you know anything about how the 1992 one went, there you go. If you've never seen the 1992 version, I highly encourage you to check that one out first, and then check this out if you've already checked this one out, and you're just watching my review. First of all, thank you. Thank you guys very much for tuning in. You guys have somehow managed to push me almost to 1 million views for a small fucking channel like this that outside of a couple of years, I was pretty much just doing this on my own. Bless my best friend, though, for working on the editing. Let's get back to this. Pretty much everything about this is telegraphed. They have an opening scene where I immediately called what the fucking twist was, and then we just get set up, and then we get a few attempts at twists that are so fucking telegraphed they practically are done in Morse code. They should have the word stop after every bit of dialogue. And yeah, that's all I really have to say. Just, again, Michael Monroe, just really, seriously, take some caffeine, do something, act enthusiastic, act like you care, go girl, give us nothing. As the young people say, I'm almost 45 saying that. Mary Elizabeth still looks great, but man, they Karenize her too much. Raul Castillo is not given much to do. The kid playing Emma's fine. I think she does the best she can. I did like Yvette Lou in the couple scenes she was in. That was nice. It's on Hulu if you want to check it out. So here we go. 3, 2, 1, and spoilers. So, Hulu, what did I ever do to you? What did I ever do to you? I pay my subscription fee for that, Disney, and HBO Max every month. What did I do to deserve this? Oh, wait, I hit play. So it's my fault. So you're blaming me. It's an abusive relationship that we have with these streaming services. So, there's a house on fire, and we see a kid just standing there, wondering what the hell is going on. Well, we then immediately cut to present day, where Caitlin's doing some kind of counseling work or whatever. She meets with Polly, who's trying to get a job, doing whatever, possibly selling Polly Pocket figures. I would have actually rather watched that, because maybe it would have made Michael Monroe interesting. I'm fine. I'm calm. I'm not angry at her. I just think she needs a personality transplant, even if she claims to have one currently. So, there is, she tries to become a nanny. She has nannied before, she says. And then we get a brief shouting match with Caitlin and one of her neighbors that just blitzed right on through. And by the way, this is kind of the daughter's fault for not securing the stroller, and it just rolls down the driveway and everything. And then she bumps into it. Oh, that could have damaged my car. I mean, that lady was a bitch, too, but it's not as if Caitlin was necessarily great. But, Emma, you were kind of at fault. Move the bangs out of your eyes and figure it out, kid. Come on, you got to figure out responsibility sometime. So, they're at the market, seemingly a market just wherever, and Polly just happens upon there and refers to a woman named Rosanna that is somebody that she nannied for. And okay, cool. This woman named Rosanna puts her over, says she was really good. Puts her over. I gotta stop watching so much wrestling. She mentions how she watched her kids for a couple of years. Everything was good. So obviously that's not the house that ended up being torched earlier. And and Caitlin's also kind of a hypocrite, because she doesn't want her baby to have formula that has sugar in it, but she also has a stash of candy. There's nothing wrong, by the way, with having a stash of candy, but do as I say, not as I do. There you are. And they got to put a stop sign there. That is actually something that was referenced earlier with the neighbor running into the stroller at about like 0.5 miles an hour. And the stop sign suddenly has fallen down. It's like they're either going to repair it or somebody took the sign down. I'm assuming that Polly took it down, but we never find that out. So, at one point, Miguel wants to get close to Mary Elizabeth Winstead. Oh, let's get a little bit of the freaky deaky. And, by the way, Josie at this point has been born because, while doing the counseling, Caitlin went into labor. So then showed up a little bit later. So instead of the 1992 version, they had the deal that happened with the doctor and necessitating Rebecca De Mornay's character doing what she did. We get this. And then we basically just have Polly immediately integrating herself in the family. Everything seems good. Emma really likes her. And they decide to have some cupcakes. Sugary cupcakes. Oh, and not supposed to give the kids sugar. By the way, it is also revealed that Polly is either gay or bi. Probably bi, not necessarily certain. And Caitlin even mentioned that she was dating a woman before she started seeing Miguel and eventually married him. Now, I thought they were going to lean a little more into that, and they almost did. And I'm not even talking about that as an enticing thing. I'm just saying I kind of thought they might have gone that route, but no, they didn't. Um, Polly explains to Emma that her mother had to go away and that, the dad's not in the picture either. And that she had to eat tuna out of the can and like a cat and stuff like that and whatever. Implying that pretty much the orphanage or where she was at or living homeless, whatever it was, she was not doing all that well. She talks about having to move out of Boyle Heights because of issues and is decided she's going to move in with them. So there we go. This, by the way, is after everybody has stomach aches except Polly, conveniently. She claims she's sick, but she puts something. While both parents, Miguel and Caitlin are just there and they're looking at something, and Polly just in full view of whatever, I mean, even though they're turned around, they probably have cameras in this house, pops whatever it is in there and makes them sick. And, checking on even the baby. Don't kill the baby. Don't kill the young kid with a pillow, Chris Benoit. Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, pushed the sky away, played for whatever reason. And Caitlin basically, at one point, spiraled after... This stuff's revealed, like, in, just silly fashion. We get Miguel and, Caitlin basically heaping on exposition that postpartum depression, whatever it was... Caitlin started to spiral after Emma was born. That happens because I make my jokes. I have my fun and everything. People don't realize, obviously, unless you're a woman, obviously, unless you've had a kid, you don't know what having a kid does to your fucking body chemistry. That's why I'm forever grateful to any of the mothers out there. That's why I'm grateful to my mother. She had me and obviously did not kill me, even if she wanted to, and had my sister and went through all those changes and everything because it fucks up your body chemistry. So that's something they could have also leaned into, but no, they didn't do that. And she at one point was freaking out, cleaning stuff and just looking around at 4 a.m. in the morning and everything and said, "You said our lives were in danger." So she's on medication of some variety, ADHD, that kind of medication, whatever it is. And then, she's on some kind of meds, but maybe the meds are needing to be shaved down. Oh, and Polly's just suddenly working on the medication, shaving the pills down at one point in this movie. It's a little bit later on, but whatever. Polly turns cold about 30 minutes in. Just leaves the kid to just crawl around and everything with a toy that was making noise, and she goes out and is looking around. The kids are fine, by the way, just in case anybody's worried. And convenient forgetfulness, where, oh my God, it's like, I don't remember you saying you couldn't give me or that I couldn't give them sugar. They're gaslighting Caitlin. Even the husband's just like, I should listen to my wife's concerns, but she snapped before. And here's this younger, allegedly hotter. If you're into Micah Monroe, that's fine. I'd rather have Mary Elizabeth Winstead, but still. And they don't even lean into that until, like, the very end. So then Polly and Amelia, Yvette, who has a lighter, by the way, with fate on it, and I thought that might have been tying into something that happened earlier because there was a lighter that was shown before. But then those two lasses get together, and Caitlin just happens to see them, and Yvette apparently likes to be choked. Whatever you're into, as long as you have a willing participant and you take care of your partner. They didn't lean into any more of that, though. They didn't lean into Polly, maybe gaslighting Caitlin, maybe trying to get her to come to her side, whatever. They didn't do that. They didn't do any of that. They did at one point with a massage thing just before that to kind of fix a kink, or it looked like she was going to choke Mary Elizabeth Winstead. And then there's a tattoo that, that Micah Monroe's character has, where she basically says it's a tattoo of Olivia, and that was her little sister's name. And she knows a sister, that she knows a secret, by the way, about Caitlin, and, mentions that to Emma and says, when a secret, and when, people don't like having secrets revealed, because then you hold power over them. She's pretending to be someone else. She's not entirely wrong, but she's also trying to confuse the daughter. And then Emma basically starts to talk about her. The kid's supposed to be 10. I don't know how old the young actress is, whatever. The actress plays fine. But she mentions, I don't really want to have a husband when I grow up. I want to have a wife. Okay, that's cool. It's a decision. Caitlin chimes in when Miguel says that. Well, it's not a decision. It's it's who you are. That's another thing that I thought, okay, we're going to get Miguel maybe getting upset that his wife, is giving in to sin or stuff like that because their parents, or his parents rather, are back in whatever country. It could be Mexico, it could be fucking Chile or Argentina for all I know. Buenas noches, Manfiora. Yeah. I'm sorry to any Argentinians having to be watching this. I'm sorry. I don't like anybody from Argentina is watching this. If you are, thank you. So, about halfway through, Caitlin decides, let's her and Miguel do stuff. And the pills are being shaved down, as I mentioned. That actually happened later in the movie. I apologize. Some of this stuff got so jumbled. And also, there was a bit of a break because we've had internet updates going on here. So I was reading a book. The Irresistible Force by Brian R. Solomon about Gorilla Monsoon. Cheap plug, by the way. Would have brought the book on there, but it has nothing to do with the actual movie. And yeah, we're getting closer to the end here, thankfully. Essentially, Caitlin has had it, is going to kick her out of the house. But then that kind of leads to a bunch of, ridiculous, interactions and everything. Where Miguel decides my wife is just freaking out and everything, so now she needs to find a hotel or whatever it is. There's also a friend named Stuart that I forgot to mention. Him and a redhead who is no Julianne Moore. Nothing against that actress, but 1992, Julianne Moore. I would die for her like I would die for 2025 Julianne Moore. But nevertheless, it's time to research. And this is what Stuart does. He went into her little guest house room and went through her trash. And he's going to do a DNA test by using a used tampon. I mean, okay, I'll give him credit for that. That's different. And it looked like he ended up accidentally dripping that stuff into his coffee. If so, freak. Gross. So, then we accelerate this by Caitlin talking to Rosanna. And she was part of a rehab group, and oh no, if, she's using again, meaning she being, Polly, then things are bad. Well, now it's all a lie and everything, and all this stuff she actually wasn't using. She was just doing this or maybe she was, and they just never went anywhere with it, but Polly ended up killing her family, and oh my god, she's going to kill my family, she's thinking. Stuart wants to explain all this stuff. He calls Caitlin, but then calls Polly to explain herself. And it turns out Rebecca's her real name. And that somebody burned the house down. Somebody that had that claimed that Polly's dad did stuff to her. That person was Caitlin, by the way. So we still go with the abuse thing, just in a different way. That might have actually worked if either of these characters, if any of these characters actually were interesting. But they weren't. And we get more gaslighting going on. Polly basically ends up snapping here. And, hits Stuart with a fucking bat repeatedly. But doesn't kill him, or they just don't bother to reference it again. Because this movie's only, about maybe 10 minutes shorter than the first one. Yet, it also is dragged out, yet rushed. That's an impressive feat. Especially for somebody, again, that directed a pretty goddamn good slow burn horror movie. And I haven't checked out her other stuff, but there we are. More gaslighting to make it seem like Caitlin's nuts. And, yeah, Caitlin basically arrives to explain herself. And she basically says to Polly that she's sorry for what happened to her family, but your dad was doing this stuff. No, he wasn't. Oh, because he did it to you. So they're just chucking all this stuff out. So the script is really not that good. At this point, I think the director left the fucking room and just left the camera on. And then a fight that made the fight at the end of Halloween Ends seem great by comparison. And Caitlin's been stabbed, by the way, by a piece of glass, by broken glass, because nobody listens to Annie Lennox. And then she manages to hurl Polly through the goddamn window. She gets Josie, the little kid. Emma and Miguel, by the way, are coming home because I guess they could just walk to school because I guess it's a safe enough neighborhood. And their gate opens, and suddenly, they don't see what's going on, but Polly has gotten like a hammer. She's hitting the windshield, trying to break that open. Well, Josie's crying, "You little shit, shut up." But just hitting the goddamn windshield, and then Miguel and Emma see this shit going on. And, alright, and then Caitlin pulls out, and just throws Polly right off the hood. And so you span that kind of stuff and everything, and bad drivers and all that and whatever. And Caitlin's hurt. The baby isn't hurt. Unfortunately, no, that's mean. It's not the kid's fault. And she bleeds out the blood into the cracks and everything, which goes to a thing about the fire. And Emma knows all and tells the story to Josie about the tuna and stuff like that. And it seems like, oh my God, her vision is going to live on through Emma. This movie didn't know what the fuck it wanted to be. And hoo. Go Nelly, that was bad. F, terrible. It's not top 10 worst because there's been so much dreck, but pretty bad. Agree, disagree with what I said? Like, share, subscribe. Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Ritlin. Until we see a remake that's hopefully not this shit again, happy trails to you.